first, let's get right to the news. NPR has suspended the editor we talked about in the last Tittle Tattle episode, Yuri Berliner, because he wrote a public article for the Free Press about how NPR sucks.
The NPR veteran saying what we've known for years, that NPR definitely leans to the left. And that's okay. I don't understand why there's such a backlash against people who like Allison, like myself, like other people like Barry Weiss, who I'm not a big fan of, but she's also said, the lamestream media puts out very much an anti-conservative view when it comes to news that shouldn't be partisan.
I agree with you that he made some really good points. He talked specifically in that article he wrote about how editorial decisions were made on a real-time basis, which I thought was very helpful to get insight into the thinking of why NPR coverage looks the way that it does. And it's a lot of what we've talked about on the show, which is just groupthink, herd mentality, the personal, frankly, hysteria of the journalists about, say, Trump or COVID or Russiagate or whatever it was. He went through several examples of it, and just the disgust with which the journalists he talks about, with which they come to the table, I guess, when it comes to certain topics, meaning they won't even consider the other options or the other sides and be curious about them because they're so disgusted by these other ideas that they have come to believe it's their job to suppress the idea, not to grapple with it, to understand it, to dialogue it with the other sides. He really detailed the shift that I saw. Frankly, I know that bias has always been there, but really in 2016, I think it became an open field for going from we're going to be covert about it and kind of pretend, to being overt advocates and basically saying these are our values and we're going to find people who agree with us and use our platforms to attack people who don't, versus trying to be actually, it's funny. It's the same guy who wrote the first NPR article about the Yuri Berliner who did it, because NPR has been covering this topic. And actually, this guy has done an okay job. It's like, I actually think David has done an okay job covering this drama with the editor. And it's almost like he gets it. He understands what's going on. But yet NPR, the ethos of the NPR newsroom doesn't like that. So the whole thing is very fascinating for me. So I'll just say that at first. I agree with what you said at the beginning, but I'm trying to put myself in NPR's shoes, because he does have a contract. According to this article, he does have a contract that says that he's not allowed to do work for other organizations. And I had that contract too. So
we all have.
All right. So here's what they say. In presenting Berliner's suspension Thursday after the organization told the editor he had failed to secure its approval for outside work for other news outlets, as is required of NPR journalists. It called the letter a final warning, saying Berliner would be fired if he violated NPR's policy again. Berliner is a dues-paying member of NPR's newsroom union, but says he is not appealing the punishment. If you sign a contract that says you can't do this, then, on the other hand, you should have quit or something, I guess, if you didn't want to get suspended, or maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he knew he was going to get suspended. He did it anyway. I don't think you can really complain if you sign a contract. I signed a contract saying that they could tell me what to do with my hair. Was I going to, go cry to Seattle Times? They told me to cut hair. Sign the contract. So on the one hand, I totally, I agree with so much of what he wrote in his article. And I think he did us a great service by allowing us to see the inside. On the other hand, when it comes to is NPR acting out of line, I have a hard time saying that they are, frankly, because they make you sign a contract, you violate the contract terms. That's just the way the world works. What do you think, Bill?
No, I agree with that. That's not my problem. My problem is with paragraph 3 of this article. And if Allison can put it back up, that's cool. If not, that's fine. I've got it right here. The third paragraph. Yet the public radio network is grappling in other ways with the fallout from Berliner's essay from the online news site, The Free Press. Okay. If you have a no compete or a non compete, it's not, we've said this, let me rephrase. I've said this a billion times on this platform and other platforms. A non compete in the news journalism space is not worth the paper that it's printed on. It's just not. So, but it angered many of his colleagues. Boom. We don't care about your colleagues' feelings. We care about the facts. Uh, this led NPR leaders to announce the monthly interval reviewers of the network's coverage and gave fresh ammunition to conservative and partisan Republican critics of NPR, including former President Donald Trump. Really? So is NPR more worried, more concerned about the violation of this piece of paper that means shit versus, oh, you gave ammo to the Daily Wire, you gave ammo
Yeah.
to I feel like there's one that they value more than the other, Allison.
Mhm. I think that's a good point. I also think, though, this is a positive thing. It led NPR leaders to announce monthly internal reviews of the network's coverage. I mean, that seems like a positive.
It
I don't know
does
if that's
if
going
they
to do
did.
anything, but I agree. If they believe that their mission is to,
Okay, it
I
looks
think,
like
I
Alice.
think that.
Oh,
Oh, did I freeze? Did I
yes, ma'am.
freeze again?
Yeah.
What I was saying is, if they believe that their goal is to change culture, then yeah,
Mhm.
you're probably right. If the culture slaps back at them because of what their employee did, then they're gonna, instead of their employee telling the truth, they're gonna care more that now their ability to do activism has been tarnished.
Right. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I just feel that when you take an outlet like NPR, PBS, and to an extent, the big three, ABC, NBC, CBS, you're not activists. You're not trying to push a dialogue. You're not trying to push a narrative. You are there to say, these are the stories. This is the news. And, this is how we research it. And this is the truth. When you have somebody that steps out, like, I don't want to get into too much because I don't want to be accused of telling another person's story. But when you have a journalist who goes to Egypt to report on their revolution, and that person is physically assaulted and raped and has to be protected by people who live there versus the uh, native or versus the security detail that they were assigned to, that's disgusting. But the fact that these mainstream media outlets will tell you or suspend one of their people for speaking out, and they can have a no compete clause, that's fine. But where does the line draw, Allison, between freedom of speech and non compete?
Right. I don't think you have freedom of speech as a journalist in the newsroom. I don't, I mean, I'm not saying you
Yeah.
shouldn't. I'm saying I don't think I did. I don't think I had you know what I
Can I
mean? I had so I don't think they give you that. And I don't think it's guaranteed, in other words.
Yeah.
Not saying, I'm not saying you can't argue that in a court of law, and I'm wrong from a legal perspective. I'm just saying I don't think that was ever a guarantee when I was in a newsroom. I will say, in defense of him, when it comes to what he wrote, it probably was a Hail Mary for him. It sounded like in his original article, he had tried to sound the whistle many, many times within NPR, and that maybe he felt like he was doing this as like a last opportunity to do
Yeah.
something to maybe change it and stay there instead of
Mm,
just quitting like I did. Because I
yeah.
was just like, I don't know. I never thought to write an article in the Seattle Times about how my newsroom was going off the rails. Maybe
Right.
I should have done that. But luckily, I was able to get fired from my next job from the State Department of Natural Resources. So where I didn't get
Oh,
fired the first time from TV news, I was able to still get fired from the government. Don't forget, you can support my work over at Locals, AllisonMorrow.locals.com, where the folks that are supporters are going to get the full stream. We got a live chat going there. Thanks to everybody who's there. You can send me mail and support, note of encouragement, winning lottery ticket, pocket lint, couple bucks, whatever you want. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Actually, not whatever you want. Don't send me anything edible. I won't eat it. You can send me a card, like this nice lady sent me a Dunkin' Donuts card. I'm probably not
oh,
going to get donuts, but I will get coffee. So thank you, even though I do have a coffee sponsor. But still, thank you, Francine, for the Dunkin' Donuts card. Send stuff like that. It's great. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. And don't forget to sign up for the Allison Morrow Wine Club at AllisonWinePromo.com. Here's what's happening. We're getting the folks who import these wines to come on once a month. They're going to talk about them all. We've now expanded to global extremism. We've got global extremism wines. We've got Italy, Spain, France, Argentina. As always, the Argentina wines are extreme altitude, and the others are all very similar in the sense that they are like handpicked, small family vineyards, ones that have been around for a long time, one over 200 years old, places that you would never grow grapes normally. In the middle of nowhere. And I am getting these. Well, you will too if you sign up. You'll get 6 every 3 months. And then we're all going to drink the same wine together and talk about it and have our club meetings. It's going to be very fun. And you'll have a newsletter and all that good stuff. Stay in touch. AllisonWinePromo.com. All right. So what I was going to say, one thing too, in also in his defense, is if NPR wanted to, they could have used this as an opportunity to say, okay, we're getting all this publicity. Let's do something really cool here and
yes.
actually take it to heart and do something really different and maybe springboard into a new era of journalism and use the
Mm,
publicity that he's gotten to do so. I mean, they could have said, wow, all right, like we're getting more publicity on conservative media. We're getting it on liberal media, whatever. We're getting it all over the place. This guy is giving us more publicity than we can get ourselves. So let's use it and let's promote the guy or something, and let's or create a new position, and let's start really getting NPR into some interesting new journalism instead of what we've been doing. But they didn't. And so on one hand, like I was saying, I think if you sign a contract and they say that you're not allowed to write for someone else and you do, even
mhm.
though I do think they're using that to come after him because they didn't like what he wrote. I'm sure if he
Right.
wrote an article saying NPR is amazing and I love working there, I want to die there, I want to have my ashes spread all over the switchboard, I'm sure they would be like, wow, he's a little creepy, but that was an awesome article. Just didn't like him. That's why they're suspending him. It's not really because he wrote it for someone else. But okay, you sign the contract. I think it's a missed opportunity for them.